Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be discussing trail cameras. We're going to be discussing tips and tactics on running trail cameras in the summer as well as the fall. So since it's August, let's start with the summer. When running trail cameras in the summer, some questions that I get are, where should I place my trail cameras? What should I be looking for? And the first thing you should be thinking about is, what does summer sign mean versus fall sign, hunting sign? In the summertime, you're likely going to catch velvet bucks on bean fields, such as the one we're standing next to. You're going to find them maybe underneath apple trees, open hardwoods, timber ponds, creek crossings, more open areas, and definitely the destination food source for that time of year. Now, if you're in a state where you're going to be hunting late August, early September, and you're going to be hunting bucks during the velvet season, well, then you're going to want to look for that primary food source. You're going to want to look for the best location. You're going to be looking for that best food source in the area. Now, the downfall to this time of year is that food is everywhere. There's green food as far as you can see. If you're in an area where you have tons of agriculture, you got soybeans, you got corn, maybe you got hay, it's going to be a little more difficult to key in on one specific buck, because that buck's likely going to be anywhere. And they can travel anywhere between 3, 4, 5, 6 miles. They're not going to be moving that far in the summer, so when you do find the location that they're feeding in, it's going to be a little bit easier to pin down on that deer, unlike the fall where they're constantly shifting, food sources are changing, and testosterone's building, and they're going to be chasing does. So in the summer, it can be easier. Bucks are in bachelor groups, so when you do find a good group of bucks, you're likely going to be in them. But for states where you're hunting in late September, early October, and you're going to be hunting deer after they shed velvet, well, that's a whole different story. So when you're summer scouting, but you're not going to be hunting until October, I'm still looking for those same areas during the summer to find that velvet buck, but what it means to you is probably likely a little bit different. You know there's going to be a fall shift. Doesn't mean that they're all going to move. Doesn't even mean that they're going to move too far away. They might still use your fall property even during the summer if it's open enough for them to come through, or they might cruise through a couple times. Just because a buck is seeking out open cover, shade, agricultural fields during the summer, it doesn't mean that they don't want to be in security cover. Studies show that them bumping their velvet and the thick stuff, it's going to hurt them, so they tend to stay away from it. Doesn't mean they don't want to seek the security cover, it's just not ideal for the growing season. So you're going to catch them in bean fields. Heck, they'll bed in bean fields. So I like to look for soybean fields, corn fields. If I'm in an area where it's a cornfield, I'm likely going to mow around the edge of that cornfield where that tall grass is. I'll mow a nice area out, maybe underneath some low-hanging limbs. That way they can work those scrapes. And even in the summer, they'll work the branches and the licking vines. So that's a good area to catch summer bucks. Now, if you're like me and you're not going to be hunting until October, well, then the next step is, once we know where a buck is in the summer, then we need to figure out where's that deer likely going to shift during the fall. So I'm going to be looking for areas that has got tons of timber close by to these agricultural fields where I'm seeing these deer in the summertime. And those are areas where I'm probably going to go ahead and blanket that area with some trail cameras. And if I know the area and I know where they were last fall based on rubs, scrapes, and visual sightings, well, I'm going to go ahead and late July, early August, I'm going to put cameras in there. Probably not going to catch a lot of velvet bucks in there early, especially like late September. Probably won't catch many in there. Early October I might not. But when the shift happens, when those deer shed their velvet and they start to break away from the bachelor group and they start building testosterone and they're looking for the does, and not to mention you're going to have acorns dropping. Those deer are no longer forced to those open areas. Now they can crash through there. They're hard antlered. And this is when the big shift happens. I want cameras in there right away. I want them to tell me the second that shift happens. I don't want to wait and then come in October 15th and find out these deer have been scraping this place up, rubbing it up, and I was too late to the party. So that's what I'm looking for when I'm looking for fall sign. I'm going to be looking for those thick areas. If I have food sources that are going to be green that time of year, I'm looking for those. If I know where the white oaks are, the red oaks, I'm definitely going to be keying in on that. I'm starting to look for those transition areas to agricultural fields. Typically what you're going to see is early October in areas like this right here. I can already tell these beans look green right now, but I can see the leaves are starting to kind of curl a little bit. It's been really hot, it's been really dry, and these things are going to dry up quick. When they run out of moisture, those deer are going to tend to start to suck back in the timber. They're going to be off these food sources. They're going to make what we call a fall shift. That shift is for food, security cover, and to start looking for does. That's what typically happens. Then the combine's going to come in. They're going to cut these beans. They're no longer going to be a big destination food source, and it's going to shrink them into smaller pockets. And those smaller pockets are easier to key in on, but mature bucks are smart and they don't like to move much in daylight. So you're going to have to start using past intel to figure out where deer are. So when I first started running trail cameras, what I was doing wrong was I was using the trail camera and the intel that was right then and there, and I was trying to hunt that, but I was too late. If on October 23rd, a mature buck came in front of my camera, and then October 27th or 28th, I was coming in and finding all that sign, pulling that card, and then finding out that buck was in there a few days prior, well then I would set up a stand, I would try to hunt that location, but it was too late. I was using trail cameras the wrong way. Once I figured out that deer were starting to do things year to year, and traditionally they were coming back to these areas around the same time, well then I was planning ahead. So now what I'm doing is I check my cameras far less than I ever did. I still run a lot of cameras, but I put them in those known locations where I know big bucks are going to be, and year to year I'm already planning ahead for the next year. So that meaning if that deer came through on November 6th on a cold front and was working a ridge, eating acorns or bumping does, well I'm going to be in there the 4th, 5th, 6th. I'm already going to be set up for those deer. So instead of being behind, I was ahead. Start using your trail cameras from the previous year to figure out what you need to be doing for the upcoming season, and that way you can set stands up accordingly. And I really do like setting preset stands. Doesn't mean I'm not doing hanging hunts. I still like to do hanging hunts. If I'm getting current intel that's telling me I need to move, I'm still gonna move. But this way you have a better strategy going into this deer season. You can use last year's intel to tell you where you should probably be, and you can use this year's intel to tell you where you need to be from that point forward. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. If you're out there summer scouting right now, be thinking about that shift, be thinking about last year's intel and what it means and where you should be. Thanks for tuning in on another episode.